report of the extraordinary joint meeting of the Environmental Committee. Now, I'm not sure, would you like to present the report, Phil, or would you like to?
I had some questions actually to ask Mike more in relation to the report and his understanding of it, but there's also some comments perhaps that Mike might like to make about the report.
Okay, so
at this stage, I have to say I don't have any. At this stage, I don't have any further amendments to what the joint committee decided. You don't? No. I thought you were going to. I had, and I am happy to discuss those, and it might be that Mike can tell us what they were, and I'm happy to respond to that. Okay, so if Mike, the chair of the Environment Committee is deferring to you, so you may present the report on the joint meeting. Okay. Yeah. I'm happy that Mike speaks to it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, you speak to it.
Thank you. Things were fairly well thrashed out, and there's no doubt that there has been some progress made since the traffic safety audit came out. But what I'll addition is perhaps to 1.1.3.2 on page 62.
Hang on. How's this work? Because I mean, you can't move an amendment.
Yes, I think in terms of our council standing orders, that one of us, a council, will move any amendment. But I'm happy to hear Mike, I guess, suggest what he would like to happen.
So if you suggest what you would like to see as said, but since your community board has asked that there be an amendment to.
No.
No, you personally want to make an amendment.
I do, okay, and I've spoken to Councillor Clearwater about it.
Okay, so
if you chairs.
If you present a, I just want to clarify for the record. So you want to see the council move an amendment to one of the recommendations.
Yes,
so
if
you could tell us what that is and then talk to it.
I certainly will.
Yes, it's a clear, that's what I wanted to clarify, and I've clarified it. So it is just one individual who, well, actually, this is very strange because the problem is I'm going to invite Councillor Clearwater to present the report. I'm going to get him to speak to it. You have obviously spoken about the hasn't been in front of the community board and hasn't been to the Environment Committee. So,
really simple question of clarification. Is all we're being asked today, accepting this amendment lightly, but the starting point is these two resolutions here. No receiving the information. Is that all we're being asked to consider today?
No, there's a whole lot of.
Right.
Yeah, here they are.
Okay. Cool. That was confusing me. I thought we were, but thanks.
Yeah, sorry. Okay, Phil.
Well, in opening a discussion on this, I have to say that, as was indicated by the submitters, there's a very long history to this whole development, and it has been hugely costly to a lot of people, including our council. And I had certainly had discussions with Mike and was prepared to look at a further amendment, which may have, for example, allowed indentations to the Spine Road. I have to say that I think that it's really important that as a council we do the right thing. And I guess, particularly having heard Mr Stokes' deputation, I'm now inclined to not move the amendment which I had indicated individually to Mike. I think one of the main concerns I have about making any changes to the amendments which were reached at the joint meeting, following a joint workshop with a large number of staff, and we were grateful for that advice. But my concern is that when the community, and it relates to on page 54, 2.6, that to make significant changes to the Spine Road was going to be over $2 million. And I guess it's that kind of thing which, in effect, compels me to keep the recommendations simple so that we don't have any further I guess, even restarting of this whole process. I think we've had, as I say, we've had a lot of agreement on the issues. There have been 3 traffic engineers who've made joint decisions and have advised the Community Board and Council. So basically, I'm supporting the original recommendations that are on page 61 and page 62.
Okay, so Mike, I will allow you to speak to.
Thank you.
Speak to this. I note that yourself and others voted against some of the decisions, all of the decisions. But just to remind you that you do so in your role as the chair of the committee.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and councillors. What I would like the council to consider adding to 1.1.3.2 on page 62, that after the last word, and in that clause, that the roads comply with New Zealand's roads NZS 4404, that's a New Zealand road safety standard, and the City Council's own infrastructure design standard adopted by the Council in June 2010. And why I'm saying that is because that is the infrastructure design standard which you have in front of you from the previous. Can I just have my time till Councillor Buck is okay? Okay. The standard that's referred to constantly through the documents is this standard. There was updated on the 14th of November 2005, but the infrastructure design standard that is current and was current at the time of these proposed changes to the roading layout, to the roading width, require marked-in cycleways, parking lanes and medians. For a minor arterial urban road carrying 3,000 to 1,500 vehicles a day, that is the requirement, with due respect. And the urban collector road, even with vehicle movements of up to 1,000 to 6,000 vehicles a day, requires marked cycle lanes, parking lanes and median. So that's the issue that's been quite contentious through this whole process, and that's what this amendment would make sure that those basic infrastructure design standards that were passed by the City Council in June 2010 are the design standards, which would include parking lanes, marked cycleways and median strips. And that is exactly what Colin Stokes actually presented to you this morning, how that can be done within the existing, virtually the existing carriageway widths. There is no permanent fixed footpaths or anything like that in place now, so it can be done without any alteration to power poles, stormwater systems, all of that just stays exactly as it is. Just by indenting the parking, you can do it.
Okay,
So that was what I was proposing, is that simple wording, that it complies with New Zealand Road Safety Standard 4404 and IDS standards that were adopted by the City Council in June 2010.
This is essentially the amendment that you moved at the joint meeting, which was not carried. Yeah. Vicky Buck?
Can I just clarify, perhaps by asking one of the staff, what the effect of this would be? Because as I understand, the effect of this would be to restart the entire process that we've just spent well over $100,000 on in terms of a safety audit and getting the safety aspects sorted. I too am very keen that our roads are safe, and we have now gone through an intensely long process with a safety audit and then a review of the safety audit and then agreed procedures on the safety audit and then a meeting of both committees and the community board and then this special one and now coming back to the council. So as I understand, the effect of this amendment would be to wipe out all of that agreed position where the situation has gotten to an agreed and deemed safe outcome. So I'd just like to ask, if I may, one of the staff.
Can we get one of the staff to come to the table? And this is not for you to answer because this is a technical question from our staff. So if we could have an answer to that question, we have one of our
Thank you, Madam Chair.
very, very sharp lawyers here as well. He caught me out yesterday.
I'm Richard Holland and Brent Pizzi, our solicitor. Councillor Buck, Madam Chair, is correct. It would take the whole process right back to the start. That does have legal implications. And you have to be very careful when you've gone through a whole safety audit process. That process takes into account standards such as the IDS and the city plan. Those standards were looked at through the whole process and overturned, not overturned, but when the resource consent process went through for the subdivision, those were looked at, and an independent commissioner granted consent already to the development. So there are legal issues of going back. Do you want to comment?
But the recommendation that we're looking at now says that we will not accept the roads for vesting in the council until the applicant has changed the engineering plans for the residential area and the scheme plans for the commercial area in the manner agreed by the 3 traffic experts to ensure that issues in the road safety audit are addressed and rectified.
Correct.
So what else do we need to do apart from that?
Nothing.
Brent, do you?
There isn't a great deal to add to that, Madam Chair. The council resolution from July last year was that there be a traffic safety audit before the roads vest. There has been a traffic safety audit and we now have an agreed position of 3 or 4 traffic safety experts. They're making a recommendation. Their recommendation to the council officers has been carried through into the report here, which is that the roads vest when the traffic safety changes they've agreed to have been made. If this addition is made to the council's resolution, it puts the parties back in the position they were in July last year. It also creates significant legal risk for the council because we do have at this stage an agreement from the consent holder to make changes to the resource consent. There isn't an ability for the council lawfully to require the consent holder to make those changes.
Right. David?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think if we refer to page 53, and the executive summary, and we had this outlined to us quite clearly at a recent meeting where 2.3, actually the developer is legally entitled to rely on the resource consents that have been gone through a rather rigorous process, and they can only be overturned by a High Court decision or judicial review. And I think the point was quite clearly made that, you know, there are numerous resource consents that we hear where variations are made to standards, and the resource consent is approved on that basis. I'm quite confident that we have gone through a robust procedure. We've had independent commissioners hear these applications. We've had reviews. We've had 3 traffic engineers do these sort of things. And look, I really think that we just need to get on and approve the resolution that the Joint Committee made. It was a good meeting. A number of issues were thrashed out, and I believe that, excuse me, that we've got a very robust decision in front of us here at the moment that allows this situation to be completed, and let's move on. We've spent an inordinate amount of time on this subject over a number of years, and I think it's time that we just put this resolution and moved on.
Raf Manji.
Yeah, just reading through this and seeing page 58, item 3.215, fourth line, where it says the traffic safety auditor has a differing expert opinion from that which is still held by the traffic expert who supported the application for resource consent. Now, when I look through the road safety audit transport safety summary report, which starts on page 117, I can see 5 serious and 5 significant items. Now, this suggests, I mean, would it be safe to say that this was a botched design? Because everything I read, and let's face it, you know, safe cycling is in the news at the moment, and it seems to me we've approved a road which looks completely unsuitable for anyone to cycle on in a safe manner. So, are we clear that the original resource consent approval was not appropriate for safety?
Well, that's why we go back to the safety audit. We've spent a lot of time and effort and money on this.
Yeah, but because we made a mistake in the first place. I'm trying to get back to the fact that it says here that the traffic expert who supported the application for resource consent still seems to have a differing opinion.
There were differing opinions between the safety auditors. It's a process where you go through from the traffic designer to the safety auditors. The traffic designer has the opportunity to respond to that. We then, at council's request, brought in...
If you're not answering my question, the fact is there are clear design standards for cycle safety.
Yes, yes.
We clearly didn't pay any attention to those. I'm trying to find out why we didn't pay any attention, and have we changed our view on that? Okay,
if you want to talk about cycle safety, we've got an off-road cycleway parallel to the road.
I'm talking about the road, which is too narrow for anyone to get down safely.
I'm answering your question. We've got a parallel off-road cycleway, completely off the road. We've got 2 3.65 wide footpaths beside the road that can be used for off-road cycling as well as
on-road cycling,
as well as walking. So it's a shared cycleway walkway, and then we've also, through the safety audit, we have cycle lanes on the road.
So you're saying that you're quite satisfied with the way that road was designed?
I'm satisfied with the results of the safety audit.
But you didn't answer my question.
I'm satisfied with
where
we've got to with the safety audit.
Are you satisfied with the road that we approved?
The road that we've approved had been through a rigorous process.
Okay, either you can answer the question or not.
I'm not going to...
you're not going to answer the question.
I'm not going to answer your question.
Okay,
fine. Yanni.
Thank you. I too am having problems comprehending this report. We've got four different coloured text in the attachment. There's a whole bunch of wording that's put in here. Do we have, what is the new plan that's being proposed to deal with the safety issues? Where can I see that?
So that has to go through a variation and be redrawn.
Because I guess if I just come back to why I'm struggling is where you've got safety audit saying we disagree with this response and there's significant safety concerns. How are we going to be reassured as a council that those concerns have been addressed in the new plan if we can't actually cite what the new plan is saying? I know there's degrees of, disagreement and you know, there's a lot of agreement in some places, but where there's some significant issues, I have no sense of what's changing from what we've already approved based on the 4 different lots of text.
Which is why we set up. This is why we set up a joint committee. You know, and you know, maybe I'm going to ask Councillor Clearwater to take us through that, because I mean, I didn't sit on the joint committee. Others didn't. People who sat on the joint committee were satisfied that with the advice that they received in this regard. So perhaps can I ask you, Councillor Clearwater, to run through the process that we're in here?
Madam Chair, could I assist with the legal process content of the resolutions that have been put to Council in the officer's report?
Yep.
The legal context of this is that the Council is being asked to approve a process rather than approve the design of the roads, because the design of the roads is resolved through the Resource Management Act process, where someone gets a resource consent, can rely on the consent, and then, in this case, come to the consent authority and ask for a variation of that resource consent. Now, the process that's set out in the proposed resolutions here is one in which the traffic safety experts who designed the roads, they have agreed on what an appropriate design will be, and the applicant is going to come to the Council as consent authority and ask the consent authority to approve that design which has been agreed by those experts. So it's leaving the detail of the design to the experts in road design.
In a really simple way, all I really want to understand is we've had a safety audit report done which has shown it was an unsafe piece of road. We've had traffic engineers and safety auditors and others go away and look at that and come up with an agreed solution. I know in some of the pages it's saying, you know, we're liable for costs, so I don't have any idea what the cost of, what the difference is to the plan that we'll be funding versus what the developer is going to do. But why can't we see just an overall plan of the changes?
I mean, and maybe I've got this wrong, so, and maybe I haven't read this as closely as I should have, but what I read, I thought said that the holder of the resource consent is legally allowed to rely on that consent and continue with the original design that he had. If we aren't satisfied with that, then we have to take judicial review proceedings against ourselves. Is that?
Yes.
Or section 128.
Oh, yeah.
Is there a legal requirement for us to accept the vesting of a road?
No.
As part of the consent?
No. But this is. But my understanding was that the only power that we have at the moment is not to vest the road. Is that right?
Correct.
And so we've been asked to not vest the road until this is sorted out. That's what I thought that we were dealing with. But what I'm hearing is that there's a there's a view that we as a council, who have not heard any of the detail of it, can add a requirement to the applicant's essentially voluntary application for a change to the resource consent. I mean, the applicant doesn't have to apply for a resource consent change, do they?
Correct.
So if we can't legally require them to do them, and he's offering that to do that as a result of, I suppose, a compromise that everyone says means that we don't accept the vesting of the roads until the changes agreed by 3 traffic experts to ensure that issues in the road safety audit are addressed and rectified. So they won't vest until that's done. I can't understand what I'm missing.
No.
From my point of view, nothing, Madam.
Yeah.
Leon, I think that's the nub of it all. While this has had a huge history and has huge complexities, in fact, boiled down in terms of the legal requirements, as the advice from the Commissioner pointed out, it's actually straightforward. There is a process, and that's what we're being asked to vote on.
But there is an issue. But it doesn't comply. Can I ask a question of these experts?
Well,
No, it's actually not appropriate that you do that. This matter has been Sorry, I'm sorry, but this matter has been to a joint committee, and that is where all of this discussion was held. We have allowed you to make a presentation because you are the chair of one of the committees that was part of that joint committee. You've had the officials there. Questions have been asked and answered. Deputations have been made, and we now have to make a decision based on the majority decision of the joint committee.
Can I just ask one simple question? Does it comply with the City Council's infrastructure design standard?
I'm just, it's not a question that...
Because if it doesn't, the council could then be liable, Madam Mayor.
We are not entitled to vest, if this decision is passed, then we are not obliged to accept the roads for vesting until the scheme plans have been changed to the manner agreed by the 3 traffic experts to ensure that issues in the road safety audit are addressed and rectified. And you've raised a question about the design standard. I know that the district plan review has got different.
This is current. This was adopted.
I know that the district plan review has got all of the roads in Christchurch designated in different categories. I have no idea whether that's the current designation for that road. So
well, I do.
And the point is that it's irrelevant, because if it is a legal requirement,
well, no, it's not.
Then it is
with
included.
With respect, Leanne.
I'm not going to be
Mayor.
talked over, please. Thank you. This is actually unhelpful.
We're not putting up with this.
No, it's fine.
So that, Mike, and you know that.
Thank you very much.
Well, I did just want to ask a question.
That is sufficient from your presentation, and I'm going to put the motion. So all those in favour of the motion. What?
Just, I really want to.
Oh, sorry. I thought it was.
It's almost at a point where the motion should be put. I think there's no point in this whole issue being relitigated, particularly when councillors hadn't perhaps been at all the previous discussions. I have to say that. The purpose of the whole joint committee was to make a decision and a recommendation. And I urge councillors to support the recommendation. I'm aware Councillor Chen wants to make a comment.
I'm sorry. Can I move? Phil Clearwater will move the motion, and David East will second it. I'll open it up for discussion. Jimmy Chen.
Please separate to vote this one, because in combined committee, I have been against 1.1.4, this one. I support the other all items, only the 1.1.4. Just want to emphasize. During combined meeting, I have debated, I emphasize quite clearly.
So you would like 1.1.4 to be dealt with separately? Yes. Yep. Are there any other comments? Yanni?
Thank you. Thank you. I think you know, I know there's a lot of work that's happened in regards to trying to get this resolved, and we've had traffic assessments galore. I think the one thing that all the traffic assessments agree on is an unsafe road. The way it was originally designed was unsafe, and there's extensive requirements that need to be put in place to fix it, which I support. I'm happy for us to accept that, you know, whatever's happened has happened in the past, and going forward, the key thing for us as council is to make this safe. Make it safe for cyclists, make it safe for pedestrians, and make it functional for the local community. So I support us going through that route. What I am concerned about is there seems to be no process to get the 3 traffic experts to agree, and that was kind of what I was trying to understand around in the report. You know, I'm happy to delegate, or happy for them to go away, try and come up with a common plan, but I actually haven't seen that common plan. So I think it needs to be reported back to us when they've finally got the agreed plan that they're going to come up with. I do wonder what financial cost this is going to have to us. And again, you know, hope that there would be a report that would come back as part of the final solution that would actually show how much money we're having to pay in terms of fixing this issue. And then I still think there's an issue around the vesting, whether we have to vest because something's had a resource consent, or whether there's other considerations we have before we vest into the road. I'm still not quite sure. If we've granted the consent, does that mean we have to vest on those plans? Or if things have been identified, do we have the right to say, no, it shouldn't be vested? So I will support this because I do think we need to move forward. I do ask again, the Acting Chief Executive, we need a report into how this has been able to happen and what we're doing for future subdivisions to ensure that this does not happen again. Because clearly it's in no one's interest to have these sorts of designs approved at a consent stage to then have a safety audit come out quite critical of what the plans are when they're being, as they've been approved. And there are other areas in the city where plan changes are going through with conditions that in time are being overlooked or not being made safe. And I think we do have to get better as a council, as an organisation, around the strategy and planning and consenting, working with our city traffic engineers and pedestrian and cyclist experts to ensure that we are getting good designs that benefit us going into the future. So again, I don't know where that works at. I will continue to raise it until we get that report coming back. I think it's incredibly important we learn from this because I don't want to see this repeated going forward.
Raf Manji.
Question in terms of the motions. So item 1.1.3.2, which says we won't accept the roads for vesting until we've had the plans changed to ensure that issues in the road safety audit are addressed and rectified. Now, I presume that is the Appendix A, the concept plan. That is what will be adhered to. It's not made explicit. Is that correct, Phil? Would you? So on page 115, is that the report that article refers to? So that's basically the concept plan.
My understanding is that's one of a range of reports which were taken into account in terms of the recommendation, the staff recommendations.
Right. Okay.
So the three traffic experts have to agree. Yeah.
If I can just clarify the traffic experts. They have agreed they've signed the document, which is the document in terms of pathway to reduce safety risk, which is that document.
Yeah.
So that's totally agreed. Now some of the changes are more significant than others. Some are more simple. But as part of the variation, there will have to be some new design.
Yeah, we can see that. I just think it should have been made explicit in terms of what they're actually addressing and rectifying.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we are, as from a legal point of view, we are locked into the safety auditors combined agreement.
So is that attachment 2?
Yes. Yeah, but it's not made explicit. Manner agreed. So the manner agreed is that report. We need to make that explicit.
So agreed by the three traffic experts, and then in brackets attachment 2?
Yeah, it's Appendix A, concept plans. Oh no, it's Appendix B, sorry. I just think it's important that we have something to come back to make sure that they've adhered to it.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. Are you two quite happy for that words to go in there? Pauline?
A quick clarification on 1.1.4. Does that apply to just this development, or is it go greater? Is this a
It's just for here.
Just for here?
Well, it's an existing delegated authority, so presumably that's something that normally happens, but it means that they don't have to come back to council again.
So it normally would apply to normal subdivisions that council has the delegated authority.
Am I reading that correctly? Yep.
So I'm supportive of this in the light that the ultimate design options will come back for us to sign off, and I think that's the key part.
No,
They're
they
not?
won't.
They won't.
They're not. I thought they were.
No.
Okay. Well, I agree that we do have to get moving on this, and I think that we don't have a lot of option but to trust the fact that we've got experts, traffic experts working on this, and their reports are proving that there's going to be some changes made and some serious changes made, and I think that I'll have faith that they will get that right. I would like to see an option that the cycleways actually go on the inside of the cars, but it may not be possible because of the stage of the development, and I think we're in such a great need for housing that I think I'd like to see this going forward.
Vicky?
Can I just clarify some of this over the last 6 months, because I haven't been privy to it for, thank goodness, for the last 4 years. But in terms of what the Community Board has spent most of its time on, this would rank as number 1, I would think, over the last 6 months. So it came to a Community Board for a very full meeting with a lot of people, and the traffic safety audit indicated the difficulty of a number of the features. So there were 5 serious, 5 moderate, I think, from memory. Obviously, there is no way that this council wants any subdivision or any development going ahead where there is serious or moderate written against the safety features of the design of the subdivision. So the process was started at that time and has been intensively worked through. And I have to say, amazingly, agreement has been reached on making sure that there is no serious or safety issues, and also mitigating the moderate ones. So they're all worked through there for this subdivision. This has been held up. While this has happened, it's been held up for a very long period of time. Obviously, there's been a great deal of community input into aspects of this, but the key thing for the council is ensuring that the roads and the whole community feel of this is safe. That is where, and there's been a QC, all sorts of things involved in this. There has then been a joint working group, and then another coming back to that joint working group, and finally we have agreement on the way forward, which I have to say I'm really pleased about. I do not want ever to go through this process again, so I think there may be some learnings from this process, but I think we have found an agreed upon way forward, which is great.
David?
Can I just have a clarification from staff? We've added attachment 2 into the recommendation, but in the report we have from pages 117 to 122 the recommendations, I presume, of this the traffic safety summary report, but page 123 labelled Appendix 5 and its road standards. Is that to be part of the... I don't think it should be part of the recommendation. I would actually like to limit the attachment to pages 117 to 112 and not inclusive of 1.
It says a jointly signed summary report is being prepared by the safety audit team to accompany the safety audit report. Refer attachment 2. I thought attachment 2 was a good enough description.
So does page 123 give us any complications as an addition to the
I think very good question. This was the change. This is what's in the city plan, and it doesn't form part of the...
So if we're specifically referring to pages 117 to 122 as being the
Okay.
attachment, so I'd like to just further edit the amendment to attachment 2, pages 117 to 122. Pardon?
It isn't attachment 1, it's attachment 2.
No, it's attachment 2.
It's Appendix B, attachment 2.
If you look at page 117, it's
Look
labelled
at the top,
attachment
it's
2 to
attachment
clause
2,
4.
clause 4.
So all I'm really sort of impressing, Madam Mayor, is that we recognise that by including the traffic experts summary, we are actually referring to pages 117 to 122 of the agenda.
Okay, well, what's...
Nothing more and nothing less.
Appendix 5 is referred to throughout the whole document. So
why don't we... thank you. Attachment... Yeah, okay, all right. All right, so I will put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Oh, this is minus the section that Jimmy wants to vote against separately. Yeah, so all of them except for 5.1.1.4 or whatever, 0.4. So I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Those opposed say no. That's carried. And could I have a separate motion for 5.1.4 and moved Phil Clearwater, seconded David East?
For one, which is there, I know in the independent audit or in the appendix that we were talking about before, it does refer to the issue of cost, and is just a question for the acting chief executive or for the staff, is there going to be a design proposal that comes back? Because that was, the independent recommendation was that the design proposal comes back to us for approval. The pathway to safety risk talks about designs being done in the future, but also makes reference to council picking up the cost. So is there going to be a report that comes back to us with the final design and the final cost to council for approval? And if so, when is that coming back? And does that come back before we best the road?
I'm getting the advice from over here, no.
No, because this enables the variation to happen, and then the officers sign off the final design through that process.
So how does this get funded?
At the moment, we're working that week, but there'll be no funding for that.
But the reports that we have in front of us say that it's an expectation that we'll be funding some of the work.
What the report actually tries to do is the potential risks around liability and property, but the way forward that we've managed to get is actually we reduce that situation.
But it says, I mean, just 2.2.5 on page 117, right down the bottom, the designer stated that it is understood that any changes to the roadway width will be at the council cost, reconstruction of the curbs, relocation of in-ground services and the footpath. And that's what we're agreeing to, but we don't have any sense of the cost.
The resolution that's before you means that we actually don't move curbs and things, and actually that the requirements, safety requirements can be dealt with within the existing corridor, and therefore you won't incur those types of costs.
So can I just be clear, because my understanding was we'd just agreed to pathway to reduce safety risk recommendations. I'm now hearing something different, that we've agreed to something else. I'm really confused as to what we're actually agreeing on.
Can I just ask, Madam Mayor, is it suggested that the safety risk reduction is limited now? Is that what we're hearing because of what we've just heard, that we are unable to change curbing and things that are in place? So just to clarify that, it's limiting the options. Would that be fair?
Yes, that's correct. The part of the commercial area hasn't been totally designed, hasn't been totally approved will be within the existing road infrastructure.
So I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Right, so would you like to indicate if you would like your vote recorded against? Jimmy Chen, Yanni Johansson and Ali Jones voted against. That's declared carried. All right, so we will now break for morning tea. I'm really sorry to the chairs of the other community boards. If we'd given some thought to the order of play, we would have had this after your presentations, but we will get back to you. So we'll just have a quick 10-minute break for morning tea. Thank you.